Alrighty, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Jenna Ochoa, and some of you may have heard my voice before, but I'm in charge of some of the marketing here at Livo2. And today I'm excited to bring a new product announcement to you guys. So Tom, who's our VP and partner here at Livo2, has hopped on this podcast with me to discuss the new product. Hi, Tom.
Hey Jenna, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? I've just had some coffee, so I'm amped and ready to talk about the new product.
Yeah, absolutely a good day for coffee out here in Colorado. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, so staying
Oh
warm
man.
too.
Yeah, we just had some snow. I'm up here in Michigan in Grand Rapids, and we had about 2 inches of snow. So seems like we got the Easter freeze. But anyways, thanks for making time today, Tom. I know that you are more excited than me probably to talk about this because I know the team has been working on developing something like this for a while. And I'll go ahead and kind of give our listeners a little bit of a preview as what we're talking about. But we're introducing the Livo2 Adaptive Contrast Dual System. So this is a system that can train multiple users at the same time. We've had many customers ask for this, or many people interested and say, hey, can you do more than one person at once? And the answer has always been a little bit tricky, but we've finally come up with a solution. So we're super excited to share it with you guys. I'll just go over a quick synopsis of some of the benefits of the dual system. So as I said, you can train two participants at once, and you can even get up to 4 per hour. It takes up about the same footprint as a single user adaptive contrast system. So for those of you with AC systems already, you're not really going to need any more space. It might even condense it a little bit more. I'm not sure, but we'll get Tom to fill us in on that. It's definitely more cost effective than purchasing multiple units. It's also designed for continuous use in 20-liter and 30-liter configurations. So that means for those of you who have facilities that you are using these in, you can just turn it on and train whoever comes your way that day, and then just idle the system, on your slow times. It also has capacity and mobility for teams who need to pack up and travel. So if you don't know, we have a presence in athletic training situations. So some teams, we can't really say who, but we are used in university teams and absolutely in the professional atmosphere. And these folks really need mobility. That's a big pain point when they're traveling. So this is something that's really awesome for those people. And lastly, it has improved and upgraded connectors to allow for more efficiency in reservoir use. So that's just a quick snapshot of the benefits of what the dual system can do. So before I transition to Tom to talk to you specifically about the product, I want to get him to give us a little bit of a high-level view of exactly what Livo2 is. So a lot of you listening are already customers. Thank you for that. And you know very well what our product does, but a lot of you are probably new listeners as well. So Tom, would you go ahead and give us kind of a quick overview of what Livo2 is and what it does for your body?
Sure. So for those of you that are new to Livo2, this is something you want to look at. We basically are a 15-minute session. And what's so important about that 15-minute session is this represents 1% of your day. If you don't have 1% of your day to exercise, there's probably not a whole lot that's going to work for you. But when we think of it in 1% of your day and what you can accomplish with a Livo2 adaptive contrast session, this is the equivalent of 2 to 3 hours of aerobic pace exercise. The added benefit is you're actually going to get a therapeutic level of oxygen in your body and recruit blood for your circulation and supporting your tissues in ways that you don't normally do. If we do Livo2 correctly, we're able to play both games. And I refer to this because we sometimes have a very shallow idea of what we need to be doing for our health. And it might be very, very narrowly focused in what I need to do for the short term. And then we forget about, hey, there's this whole other longer term game that we need to be playing. And that's what I am so excited about LiveO2 still, is that we can play both of those games. We know when we can get your body moving and create voltage and oxygenate the blood and dissolve a lot of oxygen into the plasma and fluids of your body, we create an instantaneous health advantage for you in the short term. We can pull you out of a rut, or we can help you run a race better just by refreshing the body. The longer term is when we can teach you to breathe stronger and also utilize more oxygen no matter what you're doing. This is the meta-analysis of studies that basically says longevity is all about oxygen utilization. So when we come back to LiveO2, we're talking about a 15-minute session that's at your pace. It's going to push your boundaries just a little bit, and it's going to leave you feeling awesome. It's technically exercise, but it's a lot funner than that. You get to challenge your body in ways that it maybe hasn't ever been challenged before. And it gets results that it maybe hasn't ever gotten before too.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the longevity piece, Tom, because I feel like a lot of people who either try LiveO2 at an event or maybe experience a session at a practitioner's office, they feel really good immediately. And, that's the thing that we love about our product, is that you do feel the benefits of oxygen almost immediately. But the cool thing that you may or may not know is that you are doing something really great for yourself in the long run. So I'm glad that you pointed that out for those new people that, may be kind of like wondering, what is this product exactly? So it's cool because you get some quick wins, but it's also an investment in your overall longevity.
Yeah, I like the idea that we've started calling it a life-changing workout. I'll take a one-hit wonder any day, but it's a lot deeper than that. I know we've changed people's lives just in the last month of going around and starting demo sites.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the most important thing is that we're handing it back to them and saying, we want you to own and continue to own every cell of your physiology for the rest of your life. And I'm just a firm believer that's the way it's intended to be. We just somewhere along the lines got a different idea and didn't realize we had to own that, but we do.
Mm-hmm. And that's also another really cool thing that you've highlighted, is the ownership piece. So I won't go much longer on this because I know a lot of people already know this, are listening, but it's important for these new people, for you guys who are new to our company, to understand that the goal of this type of training is to actually give you results that you earn and you own. And that's something that we're very proud of, and we like to adhere to that philosophy. So, trying to empower the user to own more of their physiology. And, by using something like oxygen and challenging yourself in a 15-minute workout that uses oxygen and negative O2, which Tom could talk about in a little bit, can really help you just be in control more of your health and your health optimization. So, thanks for that quick explanation, Tom. And I know that we could go on and on about this for a long time, but we'll save that for a different podcast. Let's talk about the new AC dual system. So I gave a few benefits earlier on. I'd like you to start off with talking about this. I know that we have a lot of different types of users. So we have people who are individuals who have this in their home. Maybe it's in their basement. They wake up early in the morning and do it before their kids go to school. We have practitioners who have this in their office. We have people who own gyms and such, and maybe have like a LiveO2 site, which is something that we've recently launched. You can check our blog for that. So we have all sorts of users. Can you explain to us why the dual AC system is a smart investment for pretty much anyone who's using adaptive contrast?
Yeah, the dual came about, we listened for a while, and we're also out in the field experiencing these same type of things. So it finally got to the point where we said, okay, we've got to have higher capacity in the same price at a slightly better return on investment. So really those three things are, in my opinion, the most important part of the dual system. And the definition of this is we have a larger reservoir. It's in excess of 1,100 liters. We've also done some internal design changes that allow the reservoir to function a little bit more efficiently. So in this dual reservoir, it's only maybe about 60% larger in capacity than the single reservoir, but it performs as if it was greater than 200%. We're also running them at higher fill rates, and there's a larger volume. So we can train 2 people at once and not have a concern about running the reservoir down. And some individuals who are larger and have a larger capacity to change over more air, this will also be the reservoir for them so that they can have enough air to train for the 15 minutes. When we get into the human frames that are up into the 5'2", 5'4", and larger, changes everything about the amount of air that the people can change. So that was one of the other things we were listening to. And as we were moving into professional teams, that became real important too. We've started working with what I call some uber athletes that can breathe really hard. And all of a sudden what we had designed for practitioners and home users didn't quite have enough air. So we wanted to bolster that and also create it in a way that you had the option where 2 people could use it, or you could have it set up so it could run on 2 pieces of equipment. So that, it really just is an invention out of necessity. But we wanted to keep the same challenges in place as the single user system and the same airflow. We just wanted more of it. And that's what we're offering with the dual.
I wanted to go back to what you said, that you've been listening for a while. So I think that's really important to highlight, in that this isn't something that we just kind of came up with offhand. It's been a long time in the making. So can you double back and take us a little bit through the story of development on the AC Dual?
Mm-hmm. This does go way back, and it goes back to being up in Canada, and I won't preface who this was with, but doing an install and a demo with them, their first question was, "Can I train 2 people at once?" And we had just kind of come out of the release phase of our single reservoir, and hadn't even conceptualized how to get 2 people on there. But it was a very thoughtful, question of, I'd really like to train 2 people at once if I have one of these. And it took us 2 years to get there. But the idea is, if you're a practitioner and, you have a set amount of space and a set amount of staff, if you can train 2 people in the same amount of space for roughly the same price, you're going to do much better. And that became really obvious to us as we started to go to events, and we would try to set up 2 or 3 systems in a 10 by 10 booth or a 10 by 15 booth, and we were just kind of all over each other. Mm-hmm. I would kind of joke at the end of an event, our booth would look like a bomb went off. So, for us, it was like, okay, we have a fairly large reservoir, but in terms of making it a little taller, we can get a lot more out of it. And most facilities have a high ceiling, so we can leverage hanging it from the ceiling, letting it fill for a little bit longer, and going into sessions with a front-loaded air supply. And we went to the drawing boards, basically worked on our valves a little bit, worked on our capacities. There is a little bit more minus O2 air capacity in the dual, because we're finding that's a place where people are becoming stronger and they're spending more time on the minus O2. So that's a plus for a dual system, as you can train a little bit more durable athlete or a little bit harder. The other thing that we were able to do is run through a few prototypes and take them out into the field. So we showed up a few months ago at an event with a prototype and ran it. And this was actually one of the most comfortable 10 by 10 booths we've ever run. We had 2 pieces of exercise equipment, and we ran the system as a 40 liter, which is something We just didn't know. We didn't know exactly how much capacity we needed. And for the majority of that event, we actually ran with 2 of the air separators off. So we only ran it as a 20 liter, which is actually what we probably are going to sell the most of in terms of the dual. It's a nice balance of training. I'll say about 4 people an hour. And this is presuming they are kind of normal, average Joe physiology. But we were able to take this reservoir through the paces, show up at conferences, show up at on-site trainings and demos. And then also we got the experience of training the pro team recently here in Colorado. That's kind of becoming the thing where we can go in and service a team that's coming to elevation in a late season schedule, and we can get them nice and refreshed. It's not so fun if you're a Colorado team fan, but you know, we're so excited about it. We love that we can show up and, you know, these pro athletes, they have a really strong constitution. And in terms of oxygen utilization, I call myself average, and these guys have twice what I have. So the amount of output that they can go through is really impressive. What surprises us every time we see these teams is how beat up these guys are. They're basically running on kind of the emergency pathways. You know, they had a game the night before. They got in late. It's now 10 a.m. in the morning, and they have a game at 6 or 8 o'clock again this night. But what their bodies are telling us is that they're in really bad oxygen states. So we do refreshes with them. And we were able to handle about 10 players in 2.5 hours. And what's interesting is the teams are telling us we want to train 20 players in about an hour and a half. So we're looking for ways to do that. And I'm sure some facility is going to start asking us the same thing. But this is our first step in the dual system to saying, okay, here's another part of the LiveO2 adaptive contrast module where you can build for your space. For practitioners that have a micro practice and they basically have a treatment room they've converted into LiveO2, now you can comfortably fit, you know, 2 exercise pieces of equipment and a large reservoir in there and be comfortable in something like an 8x10 room. And then we've got other facilities that maybe they have a fixed square footage of about 1,200 feet, and they want to put in twice the service. And what we're doing is just working with them to get them set up on the dual reservoirs. And it's just been a fun process for us. The really fun part that's starting to happen is we name the system the dual because it will train 2 people at once. It's got 2 separate valves on it. It's got plenty of capacity. It'll come in a 20 or 30 liter version. So if you're working with larger Uber athletes, go with the 30 liter version. You'll appreciate having more air when you train 2 of those people at once. If it's the normal Joes and the normal setting, usually 20 liter will do really well for you. The fun thing that we're starting to see though is we're seeing duals where you'll see it happen from across
Oh, you mean
the room.
like actual challenges?
Yes, we will see the dual, and the ones I've seen haven't been verbal, but they've been eye contact, and you see these 2 people connecting from across the room, and they both start walking towards the bike, and it's almost like they're going to settle, you know, who's got a little bit more of an oxygen advantage on this particular day. So I think it's going to bring a neat little rivalry. And it does kind of put an exclamation point between, you know, on any given day, it's going to be different. And everybody's got kind of their own set of pipes and gears, but, you know, you want to make the most of them. And it's fun to compare yourself to maybe the 20-year-old version of yourself and see how you do. And sometimes it's surprising.
Yeah, and I think those things can be a really good motivator. When you first mentioned that to me about people dueling on it, it reminded me, I don't know if any of our listeners have heard of or been to a Soul Cycle class. I've only been to one, but Spin is very intense. But in Soul Cycle, they have something kind of similar where they set up duels in the room. So they like split the room. I think this is how it goes. I haven't been to a duel or one of these sessions, but the trainer will say, they'll kind of go by music. And so they'll say, okay, one side is going to work out to, I'm just going to throw this out there, so apologies, but like Britney Spears versus like Rihanna or something. And then they see which team does better based on who they choose to go with. So, if you like Rihanna more, obviously you sit on that side and then you kind of battle. So I do think that kind of mentality certainly plays into, trying to get the most out of a session. So for those people who are working with athletic teams, or you're working in a facility where you're training people who want to improve athleticism or something like that, it could be cool. Or if you're just a husband and wife and you want to see who shows the other one up, it could be a good mentality to put in as well. So I like that.
Yeah, we tend to pick mates that are fairly well matched in our cardiovascular capacity. So it's one of those things, it's probably going to be a close race. Who wants it more might be what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, I think that's very cool. So let's go ahead and wrap this up, Tom. I know that we just kind of wanted to give a short product update today, but I wanted to let listeners know that this is currently, the Duel system is for sale. We've been promoting it a little bit, and now we have we did a pre-release pricing model that is now over. So we're now in a release pricing stage. And I believe that goes through the end of May, correct, Tom?
Yes, we're going to run that through the end of May. We first wanted to reach out to our existing customers, get those guys and gals retrofitted with upgrades to the Duel, and then offer it as a release. And we'll have a nice discount on this. We'll also have, a full specification sheet if I haven't done a good job on describing it. I've been working with it for a while, so I think I'm just kind of in my mind working from that picture. I hope it's been clear to the listeners. And the other thing that's important to point out is this doubles your return on investment. And I deal with all kinds of questions day in, day out about certain technologies, and I'm constantly researching what's out there in the development field, and you can call it biohacking or health and longevity. You will not find a better return on your dollar or investment for your dollar than LiveO2 Adaptive Contrast. It basically, from a practitioner standpoint, a facility standpoint, it'll pay for itself in 3 months if you only do a little bit more than one session a day from a paid participant. And the reality is your numbers at that level are so minimal. We basically don't know how you could fail with this. So we're putting it out there as the number one thing to do, and also priced appropriately, that you can do this without any risk to your bottom line, and it will probably create a really nice benefit to your bottom line if you're after the facility model. If you can't buy into the time savings of it, you can probably see the financial reward side of it pretty easy too.
Yeah, and too, Tom, would you mind also addressing that issue for an individual user? Because I'm in charge of our social media and things like that, and I see questions all the time about the price point of these machines, which may from a glance look pretty high for just an individual. But if you could talk to us a little bit about the ROI on that, and kind of quickly walk us through the process of if an individual were to seek out, just individual LiveO2 sessions, they'd probably end up paying more that way versus buying a system, correct?
Yeah, you absolutely have to figure out, what your time is worth. And if your time is worth $50 or $100 an hour, it's a no-brainer. Get a system, unless you have just an unbelievably convenient studio right next door to you, and you really enjoy the service they provide, and you need a trainer to get you through this. usually home users find that it's nicer to have it in their own home. And my personal experience with this, when we first got our system, and that being my wife and my wife Vivian and I, Vivian would get up before me in the morning so she could get on the system before me, and then I'd have to wait for it to refill. so
no dueling for you guys.
no dueling. I would go sit on the couch and wait for her to finish, and my day would start later, and she just was, secretly beating me out of bed each morning to get on the system. So for home users, your partner can wake up early, and you can wake up early, and you can still get this done before you head out for work. One of the interesting things is we're having folks and facilities put these on smart plugs so they can manage them a little bit better. They can turn them on remotely, so when they come in and the doors open at 8 or 5 or whenever, the system is ready to go. If they've got a slow period, they'll idle one of the air separators to conserve electricity, but they'll keep the reservoir full just by letting one of the air separators stay on. So it gives you this really nice range of flexibility and capacity, and that's really all you can ask for in your home or in a facility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you touched on that, because I see, obviously from my end, questions from the individual side a lot more, whereas I know, Tom, you deal a lot more with the facilities and practitioners and things like that. So just wanted to make sure that both types of listeners can understand the ROI on a system. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. As we said, the product is available now. So if you are looking for getting into the release pricing before that is up, if you are signed up for our newsletter, you will absolutely be getting that offer. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, you can just go to livo2.com/newsletter and sign up, or there's a link in our footer for that on our website. And yeah, I guess that's it from me. Tom, do you have any comments that you would like to do before we sign off?
For me, it's my pleasure to work with people that are developing a site plan and actually want to become a Livo2 site. That's where it seems to be a lot of this is heading. And we have created programs that allow you to become an official Livo2 site. So if that's something in your mind, contact us. And the dual system is probably one of the things we'll talk about in that conversation, and, your capacity and who you want to work with and what other services you want to provide. So,
yeah, and if anyone listening is interested in becoming a Livo2 site, you can also access that application and information via our website. So if you just go to livo2.com/site, SITE, you can learn a little bit more about it and then access the application, and we can learn a little bit more about your site or your idea, and then we can get back in touch with you. So that's the best way to get in touch with us. So thanks, guys, for taking time to listen. I hope you all understand more about the AC dual system. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out via website, or you can also contact us on our Facebook page or our private Facebook group, whom a lot of you are members of. So we will look for your questions there, and thanks for joining. Have a good rest of the day, and thanks, Tom.
Absolutely. Live your day, everybody.
All right. See you guys next time.
Bye for now.